Welcome back, legends and heliheads and choppers and lovers of all things radio control, but specifically, of course, rotors. Yes, sweetie, we'll have some time later together and I'll give you a good going over. It's really good to be back in the heli shed and on this short video. Lots of people have said, "Oh, where have you been? Where have you been in the shed? You haven't been in the shed. Can you do some, can you do some more on the Bell 222? Can you do some more builds? Can you do this? Can you do this?" Happy to, but it's been quite a busy few months. Of course, we went into winter, which means it gets bloody cold in the UK, and specifically in the heli shed.
I'm so cold that I can use my nose drippings as a pair of chopsticks.
I've got a heater now. My phone that I used to use to record the videos, my dog decided to eat it. So I've got a new phone now. My computer decided to slow down to that which was representative of a speed of an old Casio calculator. So I had to rebuild that. My graphics card needed upgrading. And by the time I had done the previous two there, the computer and the graphics card, I could have bought an entire fleet of Saab 700s personally signed by Tariq Al-Sadi and Kyle Stacey. It was madness, the cost there. What else? My transmitter, I changed from a DX8 to an NX10, bit of an upgrade. The pots on the old NX8 were, they were lackluster. They didn't spring back to center on the cyclic, and I needed an upgrade. So NX10, in that came. I had a meltdown. With the Bell 222 retracts and the problems I've had with that. Clearly there'll be a video coming on that and continuing that journey.
I still love you.
What else? Oh yeah, and the wife had a heart attack. So it's been quite a difficult few months, but we're coming at the other side of it. For those of you who know my lovely wife, she's on the road to recovery, so to speak, and all the other aforementioned things have now been sorted and fixed. And of course, we're coming into sort of spring now, so it's starting to warm up. In that interim period, I've done a lot of sim time. My confidence and muscle memory has been building up on the controller. And to any of you out there starting to fly radio control helicopters or even interested in doing so, I would strongly suggest that you put a lot of time into simming. And if I had done that a few years ago, maybe I'd be up there with the stick bangers and whizzle thumbs nowadays. Maybe I might be doing that. So quite a busy period and lots of things done in between. For our DCS friends that are out there, of course, the whole point of HeliShed is that it's a haven for all things rotors. And that includes DCS World. And for those of you who watch this channel, of which there are thousands, tens of thousands, all 380 of you. But for those who watch the channel and you are radio control and something comes up that looks like a game, number one, it's not a game. It's a sim. And number two, stick with it, because I'll be doing 10-minute visits on 6 helicopters and you'd be surprised about how much you will learn from flying a advanced helicopter sim. It's not a game. Every switch is switchable and everything has to be done in an order, and flight dynamics are professional based on computational fluid dynamics to create a professional flight model. It is used by pilots in the US Air Force and other air forces around the world, and the majority of the testing team are pilots. So you ain't going to get much closer than that. Now, as I said in the beginning, it's only a short video, so let's make sure it's meaningful and that actually it tells you something worthwhile listening to. So here are some top tips with regards to maintaining and building your radio controlled helicopters. Yeah, we've all been there, haven't we? Sometimes when we put the ball end cap onto the rod, it can get really quite stiff, and that's because the actual thread is cutting into the plastic on the inside. So to avoid that becoming too tight, and to avoid a cross thread and therefore a skew width ball end to your rod, get yourself some grease, pop some grease in the end, probably not that much, and then give it a go, and you'll find that it will go on super smooth. It will go on super smooth, and it will stay like that all the way through. Don't use oil, viscosity is too low. Use grease because the viscosity will be a continuum throughout the life of the ball end on the rod. Top tip number 1. What on earth is wrong with this? Why won't it just stay on one measurement? Top tip number 2, digital pitch gauges. When you're using these to set up your fly barless unit on your helicopter, and you're using it to gain the right amount of positive and negative pitch, see that? Like a school teacher, just propping it up on the nose. But when you're using this to gain your the right amount of pitch, positive or negative on your blades, disconnect your ESC fan if you have one, because it will cause significant interference on the readout on the digital pitch gauge. Just disconnect it for that period, if indeed you do like to fly with a fan on the ESC. And you'll find that the readout that you receive on the digital pitch gauge will be accurate from there on in. Those of you who have tried to get the right amount of negative or positive pitch, use a digital pitch gauge with a fan on an ESC will know it's bloody impossible. Top tip number 2. Now, when I was at the flight field, what did I fly these down to? 40%, 50%, I can't remember. I have to plug it in and find out. And did it go beyond the storage charge? Top tip number 3. When you leave your flight field, having done your flight, take your batteries. Make sure you've got a balance board with you like this. Disconnect your balance lead, don't need that. And then connect the balance leads of your batteries to your balance board. Doing so will ensure that the batteries themselves, via the PCB, will equal their voltage out. And they will not drain the batteries down to nothing, but they will drain the batteries down to a level amount, so that when you get home, they're not at 55% or whatever. They're significantly lower and equaled out, and it will make charging a lot simpler. So yeah, battery balance board. Use that at the end of the day. Connect all your batteries via it. By the time you get home, they'll all be ready for a storage charge or for a balance charge. Quick charge, fast charge, any bloody charge. Top tip number 3. Are they on the right way, or have I got... I think they're the right way. Top tip number 4. Rear tail blades orientation. Look, here's the thing. In this case, we've got a Blade 450X in front of us. The main blades rotate clockwise. So as these blades rotate clockwise, if you position the helicopter in front of you, when you look at the rear tail assembly, that too should be rotating clockwise as they are now. Once you've got that, you know that you've set up the helicopter properly. If you've just done a build, for example, if it was a belt, you can twist the belt and ultimately they could end up going the wrong way around. A torque tube, well, if you get that wrong, you probably need to find another hobby. But clockwise on the head, clockwise on the tail. So that's the first part. The next part is, how do we actually make sure that the rear tail blades are orientated correctly? Well, the same principle for the main blades. On the main blades, the thicker part cuts into the air on the left-hand side of the helicopter, i.e. going forward. Thickest along here, thickest along here. The leading edge of the blade. The trailing edge is the thinner side of things. So it's going around clockwise, the leading edge, thick into the wind, thick into the wind. And then as we're coming away, the thicker part is then facing towards the back. So in short, main blades, thickest part going into the wind, i.e. forwards on the left-hand side of the helicopter. On the rear tail assembly, exactly the same, essentially, because we're coming from beneath and up, so the thickest part of the blade is the forward edge, i.e. the leading edge. Thickest part, leading edge. Thickest part, leading edge. Thickest part, leading edge. Part 3 of this little top tip number 4 is that when you get your tail blades, more often than not, they will have the name of the manufacturer on the outside, or they will have a trademark or a bit of carbon or something on the outside of a blade. Sometimes you get them purely white or single color, but most of the time, the side that has the most amount of graphics on it is the side that faces out. So if you forget this, then ultimately there's the most amount of graphics. We've got a sign there that says align, then that would go on to there. Clearly not on this helicopter. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at the size difference. Top tip number 4. I could put up a picture with this. Top tip number 5. Eyes like this that you normally hang up pictures with are not just for pictures. They can very easily be used to hang your helicopters. That's right. Now, some people use old rotor blades, but the simplest way, in my view, apart from going out there and spending 13 quid on a plastic clip that's made in Guangdong province, not that there's anything wrong with Guangdong province, I mean most of our stuff comes from there, but use an eyelet like this, because ultimately you're able to, providing you've got a bit of basic DIY, you're able to very easily screw these into the wall and hang your helicopters on the wall, and I've got the same here with Phoenix, very, very simply. Putting them on there is a simple case of just putting the skid on, and there we go, look at that. And even on this one, a bit of a custom, bosh. Done. Eyelets, not just for hanging pictures. Top tip number 5. Sorry, just before I give her a good going over, top tip number 6. How many times have you, with your helicopter, have a canopy that is fixed on via the use of spurs and R-clips, little tiny R-clips, which go through the hole and hold the canopy on? How many times through normal maintenance on the flight line have you put the R-clip down and don't know where it is? Top tip number 6 is utilising neodymium magnets, superglue them on the side of the frame, and then when you take the R-clip out, you can very simply just pop them on there, and you know exactly where they are when it comes to putting that canopy on when you're doing the last checks before you take it for a flight. What, love? No, not today, sweetie. Another time. Today, I've got to give you a good going over. There we go, legends. 6 top tips for you, as well as the other 3 top tips we've given you before up there. Hope they were useful. We'll do some more. If you've got some ideas and top tips that you want to share, post it down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to credit you appropriately and put a video together sharing those as well. Many thanks to Supermoon and a few of the other lads who give me some top tips. I'm really interested to see what top tips you've got, so please post it below and I'll put something together. Wicked. There we go. Right. Outro, because she is waiting for me to give her a good going over. So there we go, legends. A few top tips for you, and if you knew them because you've been doing this for years, then good for you. And if you're brand new and starting out, well, you're now better informed, aren't you? So I hope it was of some use. Look out for some more videos, of course, from the Heli Shed, and indeed in the headquarters of the Heli Shed, as we bring some more content on the Bell 222 and the Nightmare that's been the retracts. Remember, we've got a flight date to meet, and that's in August, so exactly 1 year. That was the challenge we set ourselves. August the 14th, 2023, that the Project 6 Bella, with her new clothes, her new fuselage, will have her maiden flight. Of course, the ALZ RC505 Fast Devil Angry Bird. Yeah, you. We have got a review to do on that, obviously after I've finished building it, only a little bit to go. And we've got some other content as well in the shed, and of course on the flight line with our wonderful human beings that are members of Phoenix Rotors. Some more RC heli flights coming, and we'll be looking at the Blade 450X. A bit retro, but still a very capable helicopter. Also, hundreds of you have reached out and asked me to teach you how to fly radio-controlled helicopters. Well, 11. But that's 11 of you. That's 11. 11 is better than 0. That's 11 of you that's asked little old me to teach you how to fly a radio-controlled helicopter, which is a bit like asking Beelzebub to say the Hail Mary.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now at the hour of our death. Amen.
But there we go, 11 of you have asked. So I put a 7-part series together, and I'm going to be doing that. So tune in for that. Now, for our DCS friends, we're going to be visiting the helicopters in a 10-minute visit. We'll be doing 10-minute videos. Well, 11 minutes, a minute waffle at the beginning, and then 10 minutes worth of flying around. And I've put some videos together recently on the 3080 Ti versus the 4080, and some settings, some advice to get smooth flights, etc. Because there's a lot of old piffle out there, I'll call it. There are people out there talking out of their rear tail blades on some things on DCS. It's just absolute rubbish. You can spend more time trying to fine-tune DCS than actually bloody flying it.
It's crazy.
So take my advice and watch the video up there. I'm going to go for up there. Is it up there? Is it up there now? Right, go watch that. There we go. So lots of things coming. So do tune in, spread the word, subscribe, like, share it with your grandmother, whatever. Until next time, take care of each other. Fly safe.